It being, what is today? August 13th, year of our Lord 2024, 3 p.m. Can everybody hear me in the back? Thank you, I appreciate that. Item 2, invocation will give us to Council Member Chris Haney. Anyone wishing to join us for a moment of prayer can do so voluntarily by standing up. Councilman, the floor is yours, sir.
Dear God, we come to you today, Lord God, to praise you and to ask that you bless our city employees, our and protection and everything that they do. We pray for wisdom and mercy over this council, and let ears be open to hear you speak, eyes that see you in each and every person, mouths that speak your words and the truth. I ask for peace, not the peace of this world, but the peace of Christ that quiets all. Forgive us this day our daily sins. Forgive all of our trespasses. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Item 3, discuss moving funding or funds from reserve to capital outlay vehicle account. This is Christopher Adams.
I'm actually filling in.
There we go.
So good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
In 2022, we issued a PO to Rush Truck Centers in the amount of $795,827.84 for the purchase of 19 vehicles. They were only able to supply 4 vehicles for a total of $169,557.44, leaving a balance of $626,270.40. Since Rush can no longer honor that quote, we have canceled that PO, and the funds have been returned to the Equipment Services Reserves, and we are now requesting to move that remaining funding into our capital outlay account so that we can go ahead and move forward with the purchase of the 15 remaining vehicles. So that is our request today.
Have we identified where the other 15 are coming from?
So we have several vendors. There are a couple local options. We're just going to select the ones that can provide the vehicles sooner rather than later.
So, okay.
Yes,
Sooner
so
than
we'll
later.
probably use we have a few, so we'll probably use all 3, but we'll purchase separate ones
Okay.
from each one.
Use that funds, and now it'll be snatched
Yes.
back up in a heartbeat.
No, we will use them
You guys
before the end of the fiscal
You
year.
guys are catching on, huh?
We're getting real close to the end of the budget year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Council, do we have any discussion, opinions, comments? We have a consistent move forward.
All right, thank you.
We're going to move on to item 4. Discuss a request to renew our yearly service agreement with Motorola Mac Alert. Mr. Martz. You're not Mr. Martz. How you doing, sir?
Good, how you doing, Mayor?
You're doing good.
I will be subbing in for Chief Martz. He got to make over today, so. Hey, thank y'all, thank you, council, thank you, everyone, constituents. So I'm here we're just request that this is going to be a renewal for a mock alerting. This is the paging system we use when we get calls to get the alert. Has a lot of technology involved. This is something we worked on during the zero balance budgeting for last fiscal year. And it comes out of the IT department's budget. And this cost is going to be, that we're requesting, is $78,041.06. That's
Okay. This is for the upcoming year? For
Yes, sir.
25?
Yes, sir. Is that correct? Yes.
Okay. Okay. I was going to say, because it can't be on the back end. It's got to be on the front end.
Right, right.
Council, do we have any questions? Consensus to move forward?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Move on to item 5, discuss amending the zoning ordinance to establish a site plan approval process for bars and restaurants to sell alcohol for non-premise consumption. Mr. Jeff Fisher.
Good afternoon, everyone, Mayor and Council. This item you all had tasked us with to look at a little while ago, and this has come up again. So we wanted to present in the work session a culmination of our research and findings on how to regulate alcohol beverage establishments in Odessa. How do we find a way to get customers, businesses to get where they want to go, at the same time making sure that there's some proper regulations in place. And so this is a culmination of that. So our background, we looked at, basically broke our research down into 4 areas. We looked at comparable cities in Texas, security and safety design principles. Those included the accepted ones that the OPD uses, crime prevention through environmental design. And so those are used a lot in bars in other cities and even around the world, just looking at some basic safety security principles and different police departments have used. TABC guidelines, state and local codes, so we've looked at our zoning ordinance. We also, the state code would be the main ones, the Texas Beverage and Alcoholic and Beverage Code, which is what TABC uses. And then we looked at some of the existing bars in Odessa. The current process right now, we don't require any other approvals other than building permit, and then they would take that information, have the city secretary sign, and then go to TABC. And my understanding is those approvals are good for 2 years. But there's really no enforcement, and there's no site plan criteria or safety standards that are really in place in between that time. And so this is sometimes how certain things may happen. We wanted to try to prevent that. We looked at other cities. I'm not going to go through all of this, but these are the big 5 that are in West Texas and our part of the state, just to get some comparisons. You can go to as more detailed as Round Rock did, where they actually limited the amount of bars per district. So they had an entertainment district. They only allowed 1 or 2 per mile. We thought that was a bit over regulation. We don't want to do that to the folks here. So we looked at some of the other standards that the cities did. Of those 5 here, the ones that do require a site plan process and administrative process generally don't require council approval. And then the ones that require an SUP, a specific use permit, that does take another couple months. On the other hand, it does allow you personally, all of you, to review. So that's kind of the trade-off there. Quick definitions. We've added a definition of brew pub. So a bar is 51% or more alcohol beverage sales. That's consistent with TABC. A restaurant is if you're selling less than 51. So it could be 50.99. You're still over half, but you're not more than 51. And you also have to have permanent cooking and equipment facilities. So we were proposing to amend some of our definitions just to be consistent with state law and what TABC requires. A brew pub could be a restaurant or a bar. A brew pub is just basically where they have it's a small scale brewery inside a restaurant or a bar or both, where they can brew up to 10,000 barrels per year. We wanted to put that in there in case, several years from now or even just now, we want to look at different districts. Where should a brew pub be allowed? It's just good to have that in there. So it's not really a restaurant, it's not really a bar, it's kind of a hybrid. And the same with a gastropub. A gastropub could be both. It's just where they serve food and beer together. So it's kind of like I don't know how to explain that, but just a fancy kind of a thing. Okay, so what we're proposing to change, this is our recommendation. We want to do, so one option is we could come here and we could do an SUP across the board. That would tie up a lot of your time, we feel, and that might make it more burdensome on the public. And so if we just put the criteria in the ordinance and say, all right, at the time of permit, we could do that too, but then that kind of is the lowest standard. So we kind of are looking something in between. We would do an administrative site plan review, and the administrative site plan would go to the planning director or manager, and before they get a building permit, they would do the site plan review that would look at all of these criteria. Once it passes a site plan approval, and if they're denied, or let's say they don't like the result with the conditions, they can still appeal to P&Z and then appeal to council. So I just want to start with how it looks on the zoning table, just the technical part out of the way. So bars, restaurants, we've added brew pub in here. The C1427, when we actually write a final ordinance, we might just say C site plan criteria. So these are the ones that are already allowed by right. Anywhere where it says 1427 means that they're already the gray color, they're already allowed. We're just saying you're still allowed, but you just have to do the site plan approval. You just have to go that extra step. The ones with the S, so the bar, for example, under R and R1, those are those local retail areas that are very close to residential, so there's some sensitivity there. We recommend just keeping that as it is. Those ones will continue to come to council and do an SUP. The rest of them now can do site plan control. One exception is the industrial. Industrial is allowed by right. Some cities don't allow them at all in industrial, and then other cities do. So we thought maybe make those an SUP. There's some sensitivity there with factories and incompatible uses and traffic at night, and so those ones, again, if you want to keep it the way it is and just allow them by right and just do the site plan criteria, we're open to that, but we thought that those should bump up to an SUP. So most of the bars are going to be downtown, or they're going to be in the light commercial, heavy commercial anyway. And so those are going to continue to be allowed by right with that extra step with the site plan. And we're going to go over that now. Same thing for the other uses. So if you're a nightclub and you sell alcohol more than 51%, the same rules would apply to them as well. These are some pictures that we saw, and this is what kind of led to what standards we wanted to show you today. So you can see some of the bars downtown, they look pretty good. They've got the canopies out there. And then there's some other bars as well. The pavement should be a requirement to maintain, so they should have it paved. That's per the zoning ordinance anyway. We put language in that they have to comply with ADA, and I think that's going to cover some of those cases where the sidewalks are cracked or whatever. So ADA usually says you have to have a clear paved pedestrian path from the front entrance to your parking lot already. So rather than us putting that in there, we're just basically cross-referencing and saying it's got to meet ADA. Here's another example here. Again, nothing against this bar. It looks like generally a nice bar, but I didn't notice any ramps out there, so that could be something. And then this was probably one that was already done many years ago, so it was grandfathered. But any of the new ones would have to have ADA compliance. So we're recommending the site plan process. What's the advantage of that versus coming to council each time? It shortens the process by 2 months. So we say within 30 days, if they've got all their applications and their site plan drawing, floor plan, which TABC requires and all of that, I mean, we could probably knock it out sooner than 30 days, depending on our volume of cases and things. I know Maria and her staff do a great job, but the 30 days is consistent with the 30-day state shot clock for plats, so we thought that was reasonable. If they don't like if they're denied, or if let's say they don't agree with one of the conditions of approval, very similar to what the plats and the state law say, they can appeal to P&Z, and then P&Z, they can go back to y'all at council. So they still have an out and to try if they weren't approved. Again, just to cover legal nonconforming, those legal nonconforming uses are already allowed to continue. At such time as they want to renew their TABC license, that's when it kicks in. They have to come in and get a site plan, new occupancy, and that's when they'll have to go through the process. But anybody that's out there today between now and then, they're allowed to continue as long as there's no health or safety issues. Okay, so for a new and amended site plan, it's basically 4 things. Same thing as any other. We do have this process, by the way, already with about 10 or 11 different things in the city. We just don't have it for bars, and I think it's probably more important to have them for bars and restaurants that sell alcohol maybe than even some of those other things. But the application form, the fee, site plan drawing, color renderings, and that could just, again, if they're only doing work on the front, just show a front elevation. And the floor plan is required to show their seating arrangements already by TABC. So 30 days. We thought about how long do we keep the approvals. TABC allows you up to 2 years. We think that's reasonable. We'll get to enforcement in a minute, but the 2 years, just instead of some cities make them come in every year, it's very cumbersome, charges another fee. Just give them the 2 years. If they're complying and they're doing a good job, there's no point. Consistent with TABC as well, we just mentioned within 60 days before they expire to come in. And we would, with our new MGO system, we could even put a reminder email that pops up and sends it out to them. Planning and building can work together on that. So there's options there for us to be transparent as well. Okay, and if you have no changes, so you're not changing the business ownership, you're not expanding the floor area, nothing, you come back, it's Bob's Bar, and in 2 years it's still Bob's Bar, no change in the floor area. They also need a site plan approval, but we were going to suggest maybe just the application form and fee. They don't need a whole new set of drawings again because we already have it on file and they're not changing anything. We could look at lowering that fee. Again, it depends on, we could have that conversation, this is just general, but we would go out and do an inspection. So planning would go out and make sure that the site plan criteria, any trees they planted, there's no broken windows, no graffiti, and just double check all that. But at least they wouldn't have to do that second half of all the plan review again. So that would, hopefully, we hope that would save about half the time, not just for us, but also for the customer. So the 30 days would probably be a little faster in those situations. Again, 2 years for renewals. So if you have your bar open for 10 years, you're doing this 5 times instead of 10. So we think that's reasonable. And there's the appeal process we talked about. Similar to what the site plan ordinance already says for different uses in Odessa, it's a 10-day appeal period. So we just wanted to call that out. It's already in there. So they'd have 10 days to appeal. And it's really for them too. So that way, if they get it in there, they don't have to wait and miss, if they're not on the schedule, they'll have to miss the meeting and wait another 15 days. So hopefully they do a quick turnaround and then we can get it to P&Z. P&Z denies it. They have a third chance to go to council. So the whole goal is to try to make it easier, not harder. Just do it as an administrative process. But there really wasn't any other way we could think of that would still ensure that safe and security and standards were met, but at the same time do it quickly. So this is the hopefully the win-win. General regulations in the ordinance, we've kind of called these out. These are already requirements anyway in our other parts of our ordinance. So the 300-foot rule is a state law that says that you have to be 300 feet from your alcohol service establishment to a church or a public school, college, or university. I believe it's from a school, it's door to door, so it's actually closer. And then if it's a church, I think you run it down from the door to the road. I can get you that later, across the street and then back again. So the figured schools are more going to be a bigger problem. And then upon site plan approval, that last bullet, they obtain a building permit. So first, submit their site plan gets approved, obtain a building permit, and then have building, planning, and the city secretary sign off on their checklist. We do that already, by the way. The difference is if they're coming in to do a renewal, we'll have an opportunity to catch that. Right now, once they get their building permit, they're done, and they may not come back again. So the site plan would be a way for us to come back, make sure the standards are met, then they send the paperwork back to TABC, and the 2-year timeline is exactly what the TABC's timeline is, so it just makes sense. Okay, so this is the main part of the presentation, the site plan criteria. We looked at different cities, we went back and forth in this, and we thought, okay, we're not Austin, we're not San Antonio, but we're not a town of 500 people either. What's the middle ground? And so, what are the things that are going to keep people safe at night, still make the bar look good? It's not, hopefully too cumbersome. And so, we believe good lighting is important. And I think the OPD would agree with us on that. Making sure that any of those main entrances, outdoor patios, walking to and from the site is gonna just to help, especially the ones that are open till 2 a.m. They can see through the windows. We said ground floor. If they have a 2-story, we could make that a requirement. A lot of them have the tinted windows. We use the word transparent, so if they're, I think another city said 15%. So if you tint it a little bit, it's probably okay. But it can't be very glossy where you can't see through at the entrance. So you should be able to see through, and people should be able to feel safe coming in. Any garbage dumpsters on the property, usually going to be in the alley anyway. We just said screen them from the bar side. You don't want to go out on a patio and then see those dumpsters. And we actually did find several bars that had them just kind of scattered in the back. So that would be good as well. If they choose to have an outdoor patio, the ordinance already requires them go through engineering and get a street beautification permit, like getting a right-of-way encroachment. So they would already have to do that. As part of that, we would probably already get these standards, but we just said have a fence at least 2 feet high, or a barrier of something, could be landscaping. ADA compliant, so they'll have to keep their sidewalks free and clear. And if they want to go higher than that, they absolutely can, but just make sure if you are going to screen it, you have to have it screened, et cetera. And then the drinking part of it should be within the patio or in the restaurant. Obviously, that's consistent with TABC. One of the talking points was, do we want to go further than that? Do we want to go further than that downtown? Do we want to go further than that in certain zoning districts? 2 of the things that we looked at as part of the SEPTA criteria in some of the other cities I looked at was having security cameras. Most of the bars in Odessa, I will say, are doing a good job, I thought, when I went out. They all have at least security cameras. Their sidewalks were clear. But some of them, they had, there was beer bottles smashed. There weren't necessarily always security cameras in those blind spots when they're walking out to their cars. They may have just been one at the entrance or something like that. So we said optional for now. If they do it optional, we suggested, and this is just one idea, they could get half off of their their site plan renewal fee. So if it's $500, it's $250. If it's $300, it'd be $150, whatever that fee is that we set. If they want to have extra security, they can get OPD or they can get a private security company. We put language in there that any private security company is licensed and goes through the regular training, including some of that updated state law that was passed recently, where they have to go through, show their criminal background check, et cetera, to make sure they're a legitimate company. So we could possibly put that in there. I know there's a representative from the police here. If you have any questions, not to put him on the spot, but I know that from talking to the chief, he's very helpful. All of them, they do have a program where they have the crime prevention through environmental design. It's volunteer basis, so maybe if they go through that program, there's an option there to give them some sort of discount or waive a fee. I mean, we don't know, but we think, all of us in planning and several of the departments think this might be kind of a good start. Okay, and the last part is enforcement. So on minor things, we thought of a 60-day suspension. That's consistent with TABC. If there's a major criminal act like a shooting or a stabbing or something, and we think this is really dangerous, or one of the major TABC offenses, you could do up to 120 days. You don't have to, but I know, Mayor, you had mentioned this back in December about looking at ways that instead of just waiting or relying on the court system and kind of going back and forth, maybe there was a way we could temporarily suspend them, and I think that's a possibility. The question then is who does it, and then what's the steps. So whichever department's responsible, we thought we could start with a notice of violation, give them a chance. But if we're talking like really bad businesses that continue to repeat offenses, you would have the authority, or the city manager if you wanted to delegate it, but it would be essentially all up to you all to do that, and other cities have done that as well. So it's just something to think about. But again, on a minor situation like I just forgot to plant a tree, that would just probably be a phone call to the planning director. We don't want to use this. This is really a last resort, but it's going to stop that 2 or 3% of the bad bar owners, not the 97% of the good ones. And so those are the discussion points we kind of already talked about. So do we want the enforcement process? Who wants to be in charge of that? Is the site plan criteria good? Do you want to be more strict or less strict? And then the approval process. Do you want everything to go through this administrative site plan? So the lowest end is, I think what a few of the cities did, you put in the criteria and you require it, but you require it at the building permit stage. So it'll tie things up when you get to the permit, but they're not going to have to pay the site plan fee. They're still going to have to meet the requirements, but it's going to be kind of rushed, and there's a possibility that things could get missed. The second level is what we propose, which is, okay, you pay just the one fee for a site plan, have staff still review it administratively, and then most of that stuff, if they've already got it designed or a consultant's already drawn up their plan, they're literally taking a copy of those plans on the planning side and giving them with their building permit. So then they can come in and get their permit. The third level is what San Angelo did, whereas it goes to P&Z. And it's like an SUP, but they called it a CUP, a conditional use, which meant something in between administrative and going to council. And then the fourth level is what we have in those, which I think we keep it, the R and the R1s, and those still come here to council. So it's really up to you all. I appreciate your time, and there's staff here available if you have any other questions.
Councilor, any questions?
I do. So what's a screen dumpster? So you can't throw bottles in it, or what?
Yeah, so we're talking the dumpsters that are where the trash, basically the trash vestibules. So then screening just on 3 sides. So if they're facing the alley, the side that's on the alley, because I think they're side loaders here. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but they would just lift that up. So it's just the sides facing the bar.
Are we furnishing them, or the bars?
The bars would. Yeah, so it could be a wooden fence. So if the trash vestibule, those ones painted blue, are 6 feet, they would just have to put a fence 6 feet around it.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Jeffrey, I got one question for you.
Sure.
Since the TABC, really has controlled all this for a long time, the only question I have is the number of feet, because when I pull up the measurement instructions, it says public and private schools, it's 1,000 feet. So, and then the 300 feet is with residential addresses. So I'm a little confused.
That's also 4/5 the distance of a football field. That's
Excuse me?
4/5 the distance on a football field to compare the length and the requirement. It's short. It's 4/5 of the.
Well, I understand
Okay.
that. 1,000 feet short or 300 feet short?
Comparing it to something that exists, it's 4/5 the distance of a football field.
I'm just curious if these conflict or not.
The 1,000 feet, is that something in a city code?
Public or, no, it's in the TABC code.
Yeah.
I'll take a,
TABC says measurement for public and private schools should be from the public entrance of your establishment to the nearest property line of the school. It's not door to door. Located on the above, if it's located above the 5th floor of a multi-story building, measure in a direct line from the property line of the private public school to the proper property line of your place of business, in a direct line across intersections vertically up to the building at the property line to the base of the floor on which the business is located. Your premises, if your premises is within 1,000 feet, public school or private school, written notice must be given this application for school officials. Copy of the notice must be provided. The application.
okay. I'm going to review that later, and we'll bring it up again. I think what that is, if I'm wrong, I'll find it. But I think that means is for TABC licenses, that's a requirement for them to meet TABC. So they have to notify everyone within 1,000. But in terms of zoning setbacks, I believe it's just 300.
And that's where I got conflicted.
Yeah. So like if they go to get their TABC license, I think they have to post a notice and
Yeah.
they have to then do that part. But that would be something they would do on their own.
1,000 notification within 1,000 radius of the applicant.
That's correct.
Public school or private school, see, that's what it's, or,
Residents also?
no, residence is 300, that's,
Did
I'd be
we-
glad to have this. I just printed it
Sure,
off.
sure.
I just printed it off their website.
But that's what that is. That's for TABC rules. And then for our rules, it's just as long as they're 300 back from, and again, I'll double check the wording of that.
I don't want to get us crossways with the state, so I just make
Sure, sure. But yeah, we'll check that.
I'm
Didn't
sure.
we address this not too long ago with that bar on? for-
JBS?
No, not JBS. Where the Harmony Home School, the Harmony School.
Oh, on, where the Pains was?
Yes.
The HOH?
Mm-hmm. And what was? Do you remember what that one was?
No, I
Came
don't
up?
remember. But the question came up, and that was a cigar bar. And because it also came up on the one on JBS. It used to be, I don't remember what that was a retail store for remodel. But one of the things that we already had talked about, and the one on Granby University, you had tequila Tony's, and that had alcohol. And so they said, well, this is a bar. They go, no, this is more of a cigar, and they have some food, and so different clientele. Impact is a lot less, different clientele, things of that nature. I don't think there's a lot of traffic through there. And then the one on the JBS, I think it's called Diamonds, I can't remember. But then we have Zucchi's and
Yes.
Joe's Garage or something like
That's what it
that.
is now.
So we wind up getting a lot, so we didn't get any, if I recall, I don't think we got any, when the people were notified, because I think there's a residential back there, I don't think we got any denials, if I recall. But I know that the issue came up about the bar, said, well, the thing is, we're hands are tied because they already exist. And that was the premise that I kept bringing up, because every
Right.
time we kept talking about it, the staff always kept saying, well, council, you do have, if you wind up seeing all these violations, council has enforcement mechanism and where you can act accordingly. And one was the certificate of occupation. So I continued to research. I said, okay, well, show me where the enforcement, show me where there is that mechanism the council can do that, and nobody can show it because there wasn't one.
Right.
There was this semblance that there was one. And there's always been, no, you can't throw a rock around here and not hit a bar. Every time we come back, every 4 years we have the old show. Everything along down Andrews Highway, and I know it's out of our control. That's in the county, but all of a sudden everything's a bar now. If it's not a game room, it's a bar. And then you just basically show all these that exist. And so there isn't a lot that we can do when we have all these complaints. We got all these people calling us. I said, you know what? We've got to start addressing this issue. That's when I asked staff, can you start researching this? And I think this is a good job. I brought this up during the retreat, and we talked about it extensively, shed some examples, and so I think this is really good. I like that criteria that you guys are recommending to do it through administratively, and then you have the options to do that. We're leaving a lot of things that's already in place that the TABC does, the state does. We're not changing the rules, but we just have to have some kind of enforcement. And
This would be for citywide, correct?
just city, yeah,
City.
yeah. That's all the jurisdiction we got. We will not, once again, be going out into the county. And so, but I think it's critical. Staff has put some good work. We actually had kind of pushed for this right before we wind up doing the carport initiative, but I felt that the carport initiative would have been a good example to be able to see how that went, and then we could wind up doing this on the backside. And so I think it's good work, Jeff. You really did good. I like the fact that you're resistant to the overreach. We never want to do that. We don't want people making an investment to be more cumbersome, add more to the bureaucracy. We want to have some enforcement, but also not process getting the permit, make it more cumbersome. So finding that balance was good. I like that example that you said. We're not Austin, San Antonio, but we're also not a city of 500. And I think sometimes we get that mentality that we're still that pwned up town, and we're not.
Yeah.
And we are a huge metropolitan area with a lot of traffic. And one of the things that we are number one, and I like being number one, but I don't like being number one in vehicle fatalities. And we lead the nation. And the close second is San Bernardino by a lot, and that is not a good statistic. We need to feel safe, and I know government isn't the answer, but the thing is that we need a responsibility to be able to start watching this a little bit closer. If we can do it, and we can constantly look and get a responsibility every 2 years of knowing what's out there, because right now, guys, we do not know. The TABC doesn't have physical presence out here, and these things are being put out there like crazy. This is a concern, and so, and I know families are concerned. So this is what's the premise of it. I like that recommendation you guys going with. That's where I'm at.
Well, please understand, Mayor, I don't have a problem with it. I just don't want to get crossways with the state.
No, you're absolutely right.
That's my only deal.
Yeah, that was
I
a little
like
confusing.
the idea.
I saw that 300 and 600. I kind of
It
went
seems like
there.
there's it's 300 for a church or a public or private school, and then 1,000 feet.
And that's the situation we have at my Piazzi, right, with the church right next door.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, it's right next door.
We have that, so, yeah, and I think it's next door.
So two things. Elizabeth just found the section for us. So the 1,000, we can, as a city, be consistent with the TABC and go up to 1,000 if we wanted to. And I guess there may be cases, certain cities where there's a lot of crime or traffic where they do that. Most cities out here I'd say across the state are 300, and so but yeah,
Sure.
we could do that if we
Okay.
wanted to. And then the other thing, to your point, Mayor, is that, yeah, if the bar's already there first, and then the school comes in, then they don't get that. The other thing too is, just to throw this out there, if the bar was, say, 290 feet away, and this was gonna be a great investment, was gonna bring in jobs and be a great place for people to go, like for entertainment on the weekends, that's something they could still go to the ZBA and get a variance from that extra 10 feet. So they're not out of luck if they're 300. They'd still have that opportunity.
It's wiggle room. Okay,
Yeah.
Good.
I'm good.
I like it.
And then the other thing is, just if we do move this forward, we wanted to make sure the Planning and Zoning Commission were looped in as well. They're going to have to look at it at least once, but we may have 2 meetings there, one possibly as a discussion item, and then also a potential stakeholders meeting, just to get some of the consultants and engineering firms and maybe some of the businesses downtown. And this wouldn't be as big as the town hall, but at least that way we're more maintain that transparency, because I think the carport meetings tended to go well, the people that got the letters. So
use that same blueprint, go forward with it.
aware.
Yeah, make people
Yeah.
aware. And there's gonna be a lot of questions, and you're gonna go through and dissect it, and we're there to answer it. This isn't a final plan, this is a draft, and then we'll make modifications if need be. And so just use that same plan.
And just so you know, I wrote a lot of it, but thanks to all the staff for chipping in and doing different parts of it. So it was a team effort. So,
Appreciate
yeah.
it.
Good job.
I'm a consensus to go ahead and move forward and let the staff take control of it as they did with the carport.
Absolutely.
Jeff, great job, thank you. I
All right,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
all the time,
Yep.
you guys, for putting it right in, okay? Thank you. We're gonna go ahead and move on to item 6, discuss Comanche Trail Pavilion lighting. Mr. Reyes.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. I'm here to talk about a concern that we've received at our office, and we've also heard in passing about a concern that we've addressed at Comanche Trails Park, just south of I-20. It's a pavilion out, there's a pavilion out there that has no lighting, that serve as security out there, and so because of that, illicit activities have been reported under the pavilion and the parking lot. Councilman Mata wanted us to be aware of a more safe security environment for the constituents and his community. Reclaim the parks for families, children, and visitors. Through his leadership, staff lit up the area of the park to deter any illicit activities, which is also a big win for the citizens of Odessa. Here's some pictures that, obviously it's dark, but that's what it looks like at night now. And it was solid,
Hey.
it was solid, dark at night.
Suntan lights?
That is awesome. So when was this completed, Max?
That was completed probably about a month ago.
That is awesome.
Looks good.
Wow, that's good.
So we have a lot of activity going up and down I-20, and so just lighting it the way staff did really brings a different look out
Being
there.
off right at the interstate, having a hotel there, it contributes to that.
Yes.
Where we used to have reports about activity in that bathroom.
Mhm.
And so that was a situation that staff had to make. Real quick, off the subject, how much longer do we need the water to evaporate in that thing, in the pond?
Well, we just finished a bid that came in last week. We still have to grade it and then move forward to see whether or not we're going to complete that
Getting
bid.
closer? Getting closer?
Very close, yes, sir.
That looks good.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's evaporating, but then also we're gonna borrow a 6-inch pump to finish draining it.
That is great. Well, now that you did this, you're gonna be more, now all the members of the council can start requesting in their districts. Be ready.
I have some
Should
in
be done,
mind.
needs to be done.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
Item 7, discuss the consent to approach ODC regarding the 2 road projects fall under section 501.103. Mr. Beckman.
So Dahlia's going to pull up a couple pictures here. This is in the very formative stage right now. I just needed to see if y'all had the appetite to go forward with these. This picture that you're seeing right now is Yukon Road, and we've all seen it. PD went out and did some drone flyovers. Right now, you go from basically 5-lane to 2-lane to 5 or 7-lane. I can't remember for sure, but it's backing up real bad there as far as traffic goes. But also we have plans with a lot of industrial and retail going into here, along with the growth that's going to go off of here, and this being a major artery for whenever the sports complex is in. I haven't even started talking to landowners yet. I just need to see on both of these projects if you all have a appetite to go forward. They appear, and the Yukon would be probably second on this as we get to the other one. They appear to fit into the 501-103 statute, but let's go on to the other picture. And then this is Mission Drive, I believe, And we included a little piece that's in the ETJ that may or may not be done, but basically you can see there, the purple's where it's planned for a school, and basically all around the rest of it is industrial, light industrial, and retail, commercial type. So I'm just asking for permission to go ahead and explore this so we can see if it is going to fit. We'll go to ODC, we'll get the landowners, go to ODC and see if they can help out with this. This is going to be very important through this area, and it all works together in the end.
Another $34 million,
Not quite.
close
Can-
enough.
Uh,
We spent $34 million on a road that could have been, that money could have been split through all of the other parts of the city here and made roads better. I got roads at 8th Street that are crowded. I have roads on 7th Street that are all cracking. I have
Okay.
roads that have plants growing out of them, and we just keep spending money on the east side of town.
Okay, I'm gonna request one thing from you. Come to me with a project just like these that has the new business or expansion of business, and I'll take it 100% and try to get it
We
funded.
can't extend our business because our roads are falling apart. We got West County Road that's falling apart. It also has at least 20 splits in it from where we fixed the water underneath. And so what's gonna happen when we have another major leak and we can't get bonds for anything? What's gonna happen?
Are you trying to
You
get
gonna use
into,
this
or are you
money?
trying to get into the bond
Huh?
discussion?
That's not on the agenda.
Yeah,
You
gentlemen,
cannot
let's
speak
stay on-
about the bonds.
It is part of.
No, it's not.
Yes,
It's
it
not
is.
on the
This-
agenda, Council.
This is
Contains to this, because we cannot, you're asking for money here.
Gentlemen, let's stay on the agenda item, please.
No.
I'm just
You're
asking
asking
for
for money
consent.
here, which is a bond that we cannot even get anymore.
I don't think there was an ask for any money today. There was
No.
just asked to move
Well, I just
forward.
I'm going to
asked-
call to question right here. The topic is item 7 on the consensus to ODC regarding 2 road projects that fall under section 501.103.
I apologize.
No, it's quite all right. The thing is that we need to stay on
I
task, and the
apologize.
agenda is not about the bonds. And it is basically asking a consensus from this council to explore what the city manager has laid out about the possibility of talking to landowners and making the process to then make a request to the ODC at some time in the future. There is no money being spent, there's no money being allocated, there has been a request. And so we will, if there's another subject that we want to be able to discuss, whether it's West County Road or anything like that, then that could, we end up doing it in another work session. But it has to be put on the agenda. We're not going to speak about items that are off the agenda and make a violation of this public meeting that this is work session. So council, I'm going to ask is there a consensus on item 7 to give the authority to the city manager to move forward with this project that he put here on council as item 7?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Consensus, okay, we have a consensus, we'll move forward. Any further discussion on item 7 and only item 7? Thank you. We're gonna move on to item 8, discuss food truck ordinance regulations. Councilmember Swanner?
Yes, I asked for this to be put on the agenda. As we're looking at different ordinances and things that are going on in our community, food trucks is a hot topic. The last time we looked at this was in 2018, 2019. So I've requested legal to do kind of the same thing that our other organizations are doing. I've had a couple of people come to me and request, and I know Councilman Mata has had a couple that have come to him with requests. The main thing that I want to look at with the food trucks is make sure that we are in compliance with what the health department wants and make it easier for them to do business. But I also don't want to take away from the businesses that have spent millions of dollars to be in business. So I would just like legal to take a look at that, and if anybody else has any questions.
And Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
and I
go
know that gentleman that I spoke with, Mr. Jim Whitaker, is here, and he would like to come up. He has a presentation to make.
On this?
On this
On
item.
this
yes.
Oh, okay. It looked like Patterson. I thought we were gonna talk about water.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. I put together some packets here. But just to kind of show a little bit of what I have and what I'm doing.
You're the hot dog guy.
I'm a hot dog.
All right.
I just knew it, but next to it. This is like the ones in New York
I've seen
City.
you
like
over
my
there
doctor
on
was-
Andrews Highway, right? You've been up there by the other side of the airport? Look like you. Oh, okay.
There's two here.
Where are you at? Oh,
I
you're
am
on
actually,
Andrews Highway.
yeah, I am actually out in West Odessa. I'm out on Redondo and West University. And I've been out there for about 6 months, selling hot dogs.
And before you continue, Mr. Whitaker, you're out there, why are you out there right now?
Okay, I'm out in West Odessa because I can't get approved for a vendor permit in the city of Odessa.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll kind of give you a little background if I can. My venture here started out about 2 years ago in 2022. And I went through some people that are no longer with the city through code enforcement with Linda Einman that was there at the time. I presented my hot dog unit to her and told her what I was wanting to do. She said as long as I met all the regulations and got everything that I needed through the health department and through code enforcement, I shouldn't have any problems getting a business license to operate my hot dog unit. And that's what I did. I went to the health department. I got my ServSafe manager certification. I got the hot dog cart approved, permitted. I've got my health department license.
This happened in
I've got everything that I need.
2018.
2018.
I did all the paperwork for the city. I've got the release and hold agreement, which is notarized. I do not need a CPF or commercial food place for the hot dog cart because I'm not serving raw or fresh.
Oh, it's already processed.
Right.
Okay.
I'm totally
Pre-cooked.
processed,
Yeah.
hot dogs, chili, that type of thing that's canned chili, stuff that's already pre-made. All I'm basically doing is warming it up. I've got my location authorization that's notarized. I've got my restroom facility agreements that are notarized. I've got my application for the food vendor permit. I've got a background check. I completed all the requirements in November of 2023. I went for approval for the 2024 and returned to code enforcement. After gathering all the required documents, I was told that my mobile hot dog food unit was not allowed in the city of Odessa. I had spent all this time, money, effort doing this after being told that it would be authorized, only to be told that I could not operate this.
Who informed you of that?
Code enforcement.
Okay.
Now, I do not have the lady's name. All I can remember is that she was tall and blonde-headed. I'm sorry if I don't have any other information there. I was told that there was no ordinance that was allowed in the city that would allow a hot dog unit in the city. That the only ordinance was for a push cart, and the only thing that was allowed on a push cart was ice cream and snacks, prepackaged snacks. That a mobile, and my cart, as you can see in the picture from the health department, of my health department license, it says that I am a mobile food mobile food unit. And that's what I am. I am a mobile food vendor. but yet I'm not allowed to operate as one. After contacting code enforcement, I actually went and talked to the people up at the fire inspection upstairs. I was instructed that actually what I needed to do was go over to the police department and go get a peddler's permit.
Go get a what?
Peddler's permit.
Okay.
So after going over to the city and getting all the information I needed for a peddler's permit, got all that filled out, got it approved by the city, went down here came down to City Hall to pay my fee, and they said, nope, sorry, you're not a peddler, you're a food unit, so you can't have a permit. So again, I was denied after actually following instructions of what I was being told to do. Some of this process also involved buying a brand new hot dog cart at an expense of almost $8,000. You'll see that's the pictures that you see there. That is a very expensive, very nice hot dog unit.
Yeah.
I am stuck out in West Odessa. I don't want to be in West Odessa. I have location authorization to be at PetSmart in Odessa. They were opening me with open arms. There used to be a hot dog vendor at PetSmart for quite a few years. He was a engineer. He ended up moving to Florida and took his hot dog cart business with him. All right. There are no hot dog vendors in the city of Odessa.
Yeah.
There are a couple more hot dog vendors that are outside in the county and county only. Why? Because they have encountered the same process, almost the exact same story that I went through, is that hot dog vendors are not allowed in the city of Odessa. So, my goal here today is to request that
You want to clear a path.
I want to clear a path that we can do business in the city of Odessa. Simple as
Open
that.
it up for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, whenever Mr. Whitaker reached out to me to meet with me and discuss this, I mean, this has been going on since 2018.
Really? Since then, you've been dealing with it?
At least we're user friendly.
Yeah.
Trying to get his hot dog stand going, and
Wow.
So I think we can instruct Dan to do his thing, and we can help you out.
How would you go about that?
Let's do some research on an ordinance. There's probably another city in Texas that probably has something similar to this, and let's play with it. We'll come up with
Do you
something.
know of anything, Mr. Whitaker, that any other city
Well,
that's doing this?
Midland has hot dog carts.
Yeah. We'll-
Okay.
Inside the city?
Midland has hot dog vendors. San Angelo does. San Antonio does. Austin does.
It's two of the feet.
Let's stick
Yeah.
with Midland. Let's stick with Midland,
that's
San
what
Angelo.
we'll
Yeah.
Yeah, just tell me to go fetch, and we'll go fetch.
Yeah.
Go fetch.
Take care of it.
Go to New York City and ask them.
I don't want they're on every corner in New York, but
Wow.
But
and,
we can do this, though. We'll find something.
Yeah.
Define how broad it is, how
Yeah.
within these ranges.
one of the things I
Hot
was
dogs,
told also, and,
hamburgers.
this was kind of humorous to my point, was I was told that I couldn't have my hot dog unit because it was a push cart. As you can see in that those pictures right there, that's an 800-pound unit. It can't be pushed. I was told it has two handles on it. That's why it's called a push cart. Well, it's got two handles on it for maneuverability to put it into place wherever I happen to have
And
it.
that's not even having the water in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it complies. It's a full-service hot dog unit. It's got refrigeration. It's got hot and cold running water. It's got 4 sinks. It's got a steam table. It's up to code as far as fire department also.
Since 2018, whatever we had prior, and then what was adopted in 2018, and whatever staff is quoting now from code enforcement,
So when you went to code enforcement, you went to PD, then did you come to building and collection to pay a fee or?
Yes.
Okay. So what is every department using currently to identify whether this is a push card, not a push card? You need a peddler's, not a peddler's? So it looks like everybody's quoting something different.
They are.
And
They
so
are.
Yeah,
nobody's
and
on the
that,
same
that was
page.
very
We're
frustrating.
not streamlining.
And then each department wanted a fee.
We're good at that.
You know, and I understand, you know, we need to have, the code enforcement needs to know where we're at. So we have to have location statements. You know, health department needs to know where we're at. We've got to have location permits. You know, and that's what we have,
I get it.
you know,
Okay.
so.
Well, good. I mean, so you'll be in contact with Mr. Whitaker?
We will, and I'll get your number in just a second. If you'll give it to one of those ladies in red, that would be great, and then we will be in touch.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Whitaker?
I have a
Get more
question.
questions, yeah.
Mr. Whitaker, what is the most recent authorization you've received from PetSmart? You mentioned it a while ago.
Well, the authorization I have from PetSmart is the one that I originally,
Is it in the packet?
yeah, it's there. As I go through, it's gonna be location authorization, City of Odessa,
What's the date on it?
and the date on that is 10/10/23 as we were preparing for the 2024 season.
And prior to that, you've been wanting to be on board as a hot dog vendor since 2018?
I started in 2018, I think, or 2022. I think the ordinance and stuff that we were talking about is 2018.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So we need to get you fixed up so you can serve at Special Olympics when
Yes,
we
ma'am.
have those in October.
Yeah, because right now, I cannot set up or serve any special events in the city of Odessa. I couldn't do, Fandango.
So you couldn't even do Fandango?
I can't do Parks Legato. I can't do farmers markets. I can't do any event in the city of Odessa.
Wow.
Crazy.
Okay. Well,
We'll
we'll
get
get
it
this
fixed.
corrected. Yeah, so I'm glad you brought this to council members' attention so we can address this.
Absolutely.
You know, once again, apologize, you've been dealing with it since 2018, but, you know, we're gonna put this on the fast track and address this issue.
Okay.
Like to be, so staff will be with you, and you can, supervise, they'll be in contact with you, so you'll be aware of what's going on, and get you inside the city limits as quickly as possible. Looking
All right.
forward to it. You gotta give us those
I'm looking
locations,
forward to
too.
it too, believe
Hey,
me.
if you're at PetSmart, you're around the corner from me, so.
Yes, sir. All right.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Wow, that's it, right? Seeing that we have no more business before the city council, I have a motion to adjourn by Councilmember
So moved.
Swanner, second by Councilmember
Second?
Vasquez. All in favor indicating by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed indicating the same sign. Motion passed unanimously. We are adjourned. We'll see you back at 6 o'clock. So how'd you find out?